Hey everybody, Movie Reviewer Next Door here, and it's the blanket. I'm freezing my ass off. It's 30 something outside around here. So yeah, I'm really cold. Um but yeah, I watched another film today, and that film was Mother's Day from 2010. Some places say 2012 because that's when it got a theatrical release in America. I'm guessing this was a went to film festivals or something. And this is a psychological thriller film from 2010, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and it stars Jamie King, Rebecca De Mornay, Frank Grillo, Patrick John Fluger, Warren Cole, Deborah Ann Woll, Matt O'Leary, Brianna Evigan, Shawn Ashmore, Candace McClure, Lyric Bent. Yeah, big old cast here. In this film, crazed members of a sadistic family return to their childhood home to terrorize the new owners. It's not exactly what it is, but we'll work with it. So what did I think of Mother's Day? Well, I wasn't expecting this, but I fucking loved it. Like, this is the type of disturbing movie that I love, where yes, it is hard to watch in many parts, and that is thanks to direction, performances, and all that, but it also is just an insanely engaging film. And I was not expecting this given the director, and I'll talk more about that. Let me get to the cast. Jamie King plays basically our main character, Beth So Happy. Um, Jamie King is not an actress I've seen in a ton of films, but what I've seen her in, I'm like, why isn't she a bigger actress? And more recently, she's been in a couple of she's been in kind of like direct-to-video action films. She was in Out of Death with Bruce Willis. She was in Codename Banshee with Antonio Banderas, which I didn't hate. I thought that was a pretty decent one. There was some terrible CGI blood. I will give it that. But it had some decent choreography and some decent action in it, and I didn't mind her as the main character. Um, she was also in what else? What else? Well, she's been in many films, and I've always been. Oh, she was in the My Bloody Valentine remake. I've always been curious why she never got bigger, and I think here she really shows some of her best acting. Um, Basically, her reactions to all of the shit happening around her, she really sells what's going on. Sorry, my hair looks like shit right now. But yeah, I think she was a very capable lead, and I enjoyed watching her in the film. Um, Rebecca De Mornay plays Natalie Coffin. I know, subtle, Coffin. But she's basically our lead villain. And Rebecca De Mornay is not an actress that I love. I've seen her in a lot of films. She was in a Tom Cruise one, uh, Risky Business. She was in Backdraft, um, Wedding Crashers, Identity, Hand that Rocks the Cradle, which I still have not seen. But she is an actress that's known by a lot of people, and I think she gives her best work ever here. I think she's fantastic because she chose not to play this over the top. She is playing this more like okay. She's playing it like a fair person for the most part, and the only reason anything really happens to these um main characters, to our protagonists, is because they don't follow the instructions. Because if they did, for the most part, when she arrives, they would be fine. And I do think that she plays it very menacingly. I was legitimately terrified by her. Excuse me. And I think, again, this is her best role to date that I've seen. Frank Grillo plays Daniel Shoppy, or So Happy, um, husband of Beth. He's fine. He doesn't do a ton. He's in the film quite a bit, but he's kind of there just as the husband a little bit. Kind of hard to describe. Patrick John Pfluger plays Isaac, another one of her three sons, uh, one of Natalie's three sons. He was good. Same with Warren Cole as Adley. Uh, he's kind of the uncouth one who's constantly causing trouble. Deborah Ann Woll played Lydia, one of the only daughter. She was good. Um, Matt O'Leary, he doesn't do a ton since he's just got a bullet wound in him and he's kind of just out of it for most of the movie. Brianna Evigan was good. Sean Ashmore can't. The acting in the film is from pretty much everybody is really good, and Jamie King and Rebecca De Mornay are big standouts. Now, this is a home invasion film, and it is also a remake. I have not seen the original Mother's Day. It doesn't really interest me. It's a trauma film. The last trauma film I saw was Toxic Avenger. That's the most well-known one, and I wasn't really big on it. But this film, it is a very loose remake. Um, but again, I think it was fantastically done. Now, to talk about the director a little bit. Um, the director of this is Darren Lynn Bousman. I've seen multiple films of his. He did Saw 2, 3, 4, and Spiral. Now, Saw 2 I do enjoy. I do think it's a little samey, and I do think it misses a little bit of what makes the first Saw so special, even though there are other films in the series I like more past this one. Um, I still think it's a good sequel. Saw 3, which is my least favorite of the first seven, because it went straight into torture porn and there was seemingly barely any plot. The main character was terrible. Jeff was a very annoying to watch character because constantly I was just thinking of like, okay, if he was just a little bit quicker, this person would be saved, and that persists throughout the entire movie. And the whole unwinnable trap thing really pissed me off. I thought that was a really stupid thing to do. And Saw 4, it's not a terrible movie, but it was really just insanely middling. Um, and Spiral, I just straight up hate. Spiral is my least favorite in the series because it doesn't even feel like a Saw film. And then you have Death of Me with Maggie Q, Luke Hemsworth, which had an interesting premise, but it kind of just ended up devolving into a bunch of dream sequences, and I hate that type of shit. And the ending was fucking terrible. And his bit in Tales of Halloween with Barry Bostwick was fucking stupid. Where it's like a little kid in a devil outfit and this tall man, played by Barry Bostwick, going around basically just killing a bunch of kids on the Halloween, and then he gets shot by the cops because he pisses himself. Like, it's really fucking stupid. Um, but yeah, like given all of those things that I've seen from him, I was surprised with how much I liked this one because I feel like here he really understands how to make something horrific without fully relying on just being disturbing, disturbing, disturbing. Because the tension, as soon as the event kicks off, there is nonstop tension in this film. Even in the small moments it has to let up a little bit, this film is tension, tension, tension constantly. And that is a really hard thing for a film to do. Not even just for me, but in general. To keep up the tension and not feel like the film is going on too long. This film, I was thinking, because I saw the back and I was like, this is an hour and 52 minutes. And I was expecting it to be like hour and a half worth of story stretched a little bit. And at no point does this feel stretched. Because the entire time, these other characters, other than the main character and the villains, actually feel like characters. They're actually trying to get out of the situation they're in. it doesn't feel like they're just sitting back and doing nothing. And yeah, they feel it legitimately feels like Bowsman really cares about these characters and in, you know, like making it feel like they're actually progressive in a way where they're trying to get out of the situation. They're not just sitting by, they're not just letting the shit happen to them. And I like that. And same with Jamie King. I do think Jamie King's character, there are quite a few swaths of the movie where she just kind of disappears. Now, I don't mean that as in like she didn't film. I mean that for a lot of the film, for over half of the film, she's away from her friends, like with one of the sons. And I kind of wish that we got a bit more of that. But again, I still love this film. I still think it is a very intense and thrilling and disturbing movie. There is some like again, when you have a director that's worked on the Saw series, you'd expect them to have a little bit of that in there, and I can kind of see if somebody were to say that this feels Saw-esque at times, I can see that because there are some scenes of torture. But then again, Saw wasn't just torture. It never was. Saw 3 was a bit more of the torture than the others, but for the most part, it was a thriller series or horror series. I'm never gonna subscribe to the thought of every Saw film is torture porn because I don't believe that for a second. I think there's a lot more to them for the most part. Um, but this film, it never focuses too much on the torture aspect of it. It's usually done in like a minute. Um, there's some really fucked up shit that happens in the movie. And again, this is not a film that focuses too heavily on it. As in, there's a character that gets his fucking head blown up. A guy that gets shot in the fucking head with a shotgun, and it's legitimately disturbing because they don't show it for a few seconds and then they show it kind of out of focus in the background. And I kind of like that. That the film isn't just trying to be like, ooh, look, be grossed out by the head. It's the fact that you can't see it so clear. That really makes it a lot freakier what just happened, and you're like, oh fuck, this character's dead. And I actually did care for the characters. Whenever the characters died, I was like, oh no. Like, I legitimately like these characters. And even the ones that have a little bit of baggage to them. Because that's what makes this a little bit more interesting. The main character, certain, multiple main characters have baggage to them that makes them more interesting. Because they're not just, oh, perfect. And the villain, again, Rebecca De Mornay's character isn't just evil, evil, evil. She's just trying to get what's hers. She's not robbing them. She's she's doing what a lot of desperate mothers would do. Now, am I saying what happened in this movie is justified? No. But this is a movie that's actually taking the whole like, okay, if you cooperate with the villains, then you'll be fine thing, which to be honest, I believe that if they hadn't done anything and they just did what they were supposed to, they'd all be fine. They would. I believe that. Because for the most part, everyone that dies, it's because of something someone else did to try to escape. And I understand that this is a movie and you can't just have the characters do nothing the entire movie. I'm glad for that. But with this situation where it's clear that, pretty clear that if they'd done nothing, everybody would probably just be fine and they just leave. And also a certain plot point that comes into play way later in the film. If people had just been honest about everything, then the film would probably not happen. But then again, there's reasons for things. And I know it's a horror movie. you're gonna have characters that make dumb decisions. That does happen quite a few times, but yeah, I I do still really recommend this film. I still like, yes, you'd expect like, oh, you give it a 10 out of 10, you're saying it's perfect. No, it's not perfect. There's certain character decisions that are stupid, but you're gonna get that in horror movies. You're going to. Um, there's again, I wish we had a tiny bit more Jamie King because I love her and I want to see her in more stuff. But then again, we got to focus more on Rebecca de Mornay, which I'm not opposed to at all because Rebecca de Mornay is fantastic in this film. She is, legitimately. I want to see her as another villain. But yeah, this is a very effective, very intense, and thrilling, and again, disturbing at times, home invasion thriller, and I hope others will check it out. I do wish that this is my Blu-ray and it's from Alliance, which I have other Blu-rays from them. There's no features on this. Not even there isn't even a freaking subtitle track, which I was a bit disappointed by, but still looked good on it. But yeah, that was my review of Mother's Day. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put those down there as well. And movie reviewer next door out.